All right. How's it going, everybody? Um, can someone let me know if you can hear me all right? And I'll probably just get going right away once I get that confirmation because it's just a lot of stuff to go through. Hey, Supernatural Bible Changes. Good to see you. Hey, AJ, Dialectic Truth. Thanks. All right. So let me share my screen and I'm just going to jump into it. All right, so this is where we picked or we left last time, so we'll pick up here. Um, hey, how's it going, Nay Nanette and King Shin? Good to see you guys. So I'm just going to make the case here that there are multiple cities around the world, particularly in the United States, that represent the North Pole, and one of them is certainly New York City. That's of course where Trump is from, and he's like Mr. New York. And of course, we had this whole event where the twin pillars fall, and out of the ashes rises the singular central pillar with the needle. This is actually similar to like the space needle, that kind of symbolism. And this One World Trade building, there was actually several names for it when they were designing it and putting it together, and they didn't settle on it. But one of those names I think was actually the Phoenix Tower. So that's definitely all that symbolism. And I showed this at the very end of the last stream. This ball dropping, I think this is symbolic of the apex dome that's at the top of the dome. And then this is basically the blue beam, this pole. And notice how it's called the North Pole. It's like a pole, the blue beam. And it'll come down. And keep in mind that these domes also usually have up and down arrows that make that hex be a recurring theme with this symbolism. So I wouldn't be surprised if our dome has that same pattern to it, but we obviously can't see it. So the name York actually means the place of the yew tree. And what do we got here? So the trouble saying that word, but the aggressal. What's up, Sean? Good to see you. Um, this is mostly said to be an I'm sure it says that somewhere here. And of course, oh, here we go. It's very symbolic too of the phoenix and all that symbolism. Possible interpretation too is that it's a yew tree, and even say so. I think that's where the term York comes in. They're making a New York, like a new Jerusalem, essentially, a new pole area, a new paradise. Their paradise is obviously an inverted paradise. So here we have ash trees. They symbolize strength, stability, healing, and a connection to that fits with the blue beam, of course. Symbolize immortality, death, and resurrection, which is of course the Christ symbolism, because the blue beam is essentially Jesus Christ's spirit or life force. So this Captain America movie, this is the first one of them. And this movie's loaded with symbolism. And of course, captain can also be a verb. So this also could, to Captain America, like to steer the ship. And his villain is the Red Skull, which of course is like left pillar and like death symbolism. But also it's Hydra, which is like the Kraken, the multi-headed, snake or dragon, or the multi-tentacled, octopus or squid. So this is what happens in the beginning of the Captain America movie. This is Hugo Weaving, the guy who plays Agent Smith in the Matrix movies, and he becomes the Red Skull, or he actually is the Red Skull here, I think. And also, notice how they're breaking into this underground like cave area. You'll often see that kind of symbolism where a lot of this stuff takes place in a cave. So here he sees on the wall this mural of the gristle tree. This is like the York essentially, and here's all the vines and tentacles and things at the bottom, and then the world tree at the top, and then the dome. So here at the top, you can see the dome better, and notice how they do have it like multi-layered, which I think the dome is multi-layered, and also the apex dome would be in this area, and I think the apex dome also has these layers to it as well. It seems that way. So the shot just kind of pans down to the vines or roots of the tree, and you can see this snake here coiled around the roots. So Hugo, I'll show you this pin a little closer up, but this is like the Hydra symbol. So he grabs this snake by pushing its eye, and he pulls out this container, and inside the container is the blue beam. Oh, hey, Calvin. Stranger Things new trailer shows the Kraken over the dome. That doesn't surprise me. They've actually shown that before too. That show is littered with all this symbolism. Also, uh, Wendy, awesome to see you. AJ, why do they have to tell us though? My theory on why they have to tell us is that they're essentially working for the devil or the Kraken entity that I believe mostly exists outside of the dome, and it wants to get in. Um, so they actually need a small group of people to, develop a closeness with Jesus or like a Christ consciousness. And that's what charges up the blue beam. What we're doing now, I think, is what's charging the blue beam. And on like a spiritual and physical level, I suppose. Um, and that blue beam is going to go up and get rid of the dome in some way. It's going to, as the Bible says, it's going to fold away like a scroll or roll up like a scroll. But that just means it's going to, dissipate, um, from the center to the sides or to the ground. And once that happens, then the Kraken is going to be allowed to actually come onto the earth. So it actually needs us to, know these truths. So I think that's at least one of the reasons why we're being shown the truth in this way. And only people like us can see this. Most people won't care, of course. Yeah, I think that's also a thing too. There's something with the black magic where it's not as damaging to them if they tell us the truth. I mean, that's also probably true as well. What do you think of that? Yeah, well, I think it'll happen soon. I mean, within years. I mean, I don't think it'll be tomorrow, but I think it will. I think it kind of has to at least start while Trump is, the main player on the stage, because as we talked about in the last stream, Trump's like the main character of this story, or like the main villain. He's like the Antichrist on the world stage, essentially. Yes, they always say release the Kraken for sure. So Hugo here, he's opening up the blue beam, which was under the world tree, and that's what becomes the world tree. And here he is, basically stealing it or stealing its life force for himself, for his own, Hydra Kraken, agenda. And here's his. This is what the logo looks like on his jacket. The Hydra symbol, and it's basically six sixes with a skull. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're always trying to break the firmament. Hey, call for zero. What's up, man? Good to see you. Does a lightning charge repel? Well, I think lightning is actually plasma, and I think it is related. I think there's basically going to be like a positive and a negative plasma, and that this is something that Jay Dreamers has talked about extensively. So if you haven't checked his channel out, I don't know if you have, but he has a bunch of plasma apocalypse videos. So this is Captain America before he becomes the superhero. And if you notice, so I mean, this is interesting symbolism right here too, of course. But on the seeing eye chart, you have the V, the A, the X, the H, the O, the A, the X. So they're literally putting this in plain sight. And here it is even closer. Yeah. And there might be other stuff there too, but that's obviously the important one. So here's Captain America after he becomes a superhero, and what he had to do to I'll get into this in another live stream, but what he had to do to attain this superpower was to be inside of a cocoon where he experienced trauma, and that's basically what we're going through right now. And right next to him or behind him, you see there's the this bottle of beer, which is of course symbolic, and you have the spiked ball here. Broadway. Broadway is like the path, uh, of the tares, essentially, like the wheat and the tares. Broad is the path of the tares, and the wheat are on the straight and narrow path. But this is showing what's on the Broadway, because you also have the mask, or they're obviously trying to put like black magic spells on people with all this stuff. Here's a closer view of the mask, the Broadway, the Corona. What are the odds that all these symbols are directly behind him? And of course, he moves a little bit, and you can see they also put the eclipse symbolism right behind him. Yeah, they're basically MK Ultraing humanity, as many people as they can, because trauma is what we actually require to evolve, or devolve. So the people who evolve spiritually and pass this test, like us, we all actually require trauma in our lives as well. That's just part of the way this works. Um, yep. Oh, thanks, Silent Shadow. I appreciate that, man. Well, here's the Hydra symbol again on his car, and they have this is like the HH, like 88, and of course it alludes to some other things as well. You'll always see the Kraken almost always has red and black symbolism, like on the Stranger Things poster. So this is Eyes Wide Shut, the Stanley Kubrick movie. Of course, you got the one eye symbolism, the mirror. There's always a lot going on with Stanley Kubrick. Cruise is, and his name means the twin cross. He's a doctor, and behind him here you have the same thing. Now, of course, you could also see OATH, but you also see VAXHOAX. So what are the odds of that? And of course, this whole thing is about like secret societies and masks and a lot of stuff. I'm not going to get too into it. I just wanted to show the comparison to Captain America. So this I just found on Google. I don't know who to credit for this, but it's an awesome painting. I mean, it's probably just like some digital. It might even be AI or who knows. But this is like kind of what I imagine the blue beam looking like in a way. It's kind of like a combination of what the world tree and the blue beam together look like. So this is something that I think we'll all be seeing in the sky. This is like how every eye sees Jesus return to the world. It's because this giant blue beam is going to shoot up in the center of the world, and everyone's going to be able to see it. And that's at the North Pole, of course. So Seattle. Seattle is another city in the United States where this it represents the North Pole. Um, this is also, of course, something that the Jurassic Liars channel has talked about extensively. So if you want more information on Seattle, he's got a ton of stuff. Um, and of course, it all relates to like Elvis and Trump and all that stuff that we were talking about in the last video. So here you have the Space Needle. I think this is the Olympic Mountain or mountain range, but regardless, the Olympic mountain range is right there. And of course, at the North Pole, you have the that's like Mount Olympus. And there's a lot more going on too with Seattle. Um, I've talked about it in previous videos as well. This is one of the things too I learned from Jurassic. Um, so the original name of Seattle was New York. So again, with that U tree, world tree symbolism, and it's known for the Space Needle, which symbolizes the blue beam and the apex dome and all that. Here's another shot of it. And we saw this too with the Mars Attacks movie. They have one of these in Las Vegas too, and Las Vegas represents the North Pole as well. And we saw that with the Trump character in Mars Attacks. He actually was building the like a stratosphere or Space Needle type building in Las Vegas. And Washington's also known as the Apple State, as we talked about, like with IPEC Go 2. And New York, I don't know, yeah, New York is known as the Big Apple. So that not only connects the two of them, but I think it also harkens back to the Bible quotes about us being the apple of God's eye and God's teachings being the apple of our eye. I think I have a quote from that. But of course, this also um, evokes the Garden of Eden with the fruit which most people say is an apple, but I think the Bible just says it's a fruit. But most people associate the apple with the Garden of Eden. Okay, here we go. So yeah, Psalm 17:8, keep me as the apple of your eye, hide me under the shadow of your wings. I think this is King David talking about or to God, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't 100% remember the speaker. But of course, this is, um, the apple symbolism from the Bible. Here's another version of it. Uh, Yeah, forbidden fruit. For anyone watching this who doesn't know about this particular Mandela effect, if you just picture a passenger airline, just try to picture what it looks like on the outside and where the engines are in relation to the wing or the wings. So I'll just give you like a couple seconds. Just like picture like where exactly do you think of the engines being, when you think of a typical passenger airline, something that you would just see at the airport, something that you would, you know, take a flight on. Um, so I remembered them being under the wing, and most people do, but now they're almost entirely in front of the wing. So if you think about this quote also from the Bible, hide me under the shadow of your wings. These engines are no longer under the shadow of the wings. So it's almost like God's, not hiding us anymore. We're coming into our own, Here's another view. This is, yeah, it's totally crazy. Like I mean, if this doesn't affect you, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, this is a huge Mandela effect for a lot of people, including myself. I remember them sticking out in the front, maybe like 10 or 20%. But hey, Jared Jaguar, good to see you, man. But this is almost 100. They're almost 100% in front of the wings now. So they're no longer hidden under the shadow of the wings. Yes, the Twin City for sure. And that's where the Floyd incident happened and all that. Yeah, it looks really weird. It's crazy. Here's more examples. The engines are just totally in front of the wings now. So you could just go to an airport yourself right now, or you could check like old family photos or something. Um, and even from like the 80s or the 70s or something, whenever these style planes came out, and they're gonna have these engines in front of the wings. Here's another one. So this is like an older photo of a Pan Am plane. It's got the engines in front of the wings. A little hard to tell because it's an old fuzzy photo, but I'm just saying, like you could look it up for yourself. It's always been this way. Here's another quote from Proverbs: "Keep my commandments and live. Keep my teaching as the apple of your eye." So this is like the other version where God's saying, "Keep me as the apple of your eye." Yeah, you too, man. Good to see you. Here's another one: "Keep my commandments and live, and my law as the apple of thine eye." KJV. For this, so we got Zechariah 2:8. For this is what the Lord of hosts says: after his glory has sent me against the nations that have plundered you, for whoever touches you touches the apple of his eye. So just keep this in mind, with all the apple symbolism, and the third eye symbolism, because like as we saw in I Pet Goat 2, when the apples twin eyes, or our twin pillars, and then the vine connects and the lotus flower blooms where the third eye is, and that's also in the Bible where Jesus says we need to see with one eye, singular, and that one eye is going to be filled with either lightness or darkness, and that's what the third eye sees. Actually, in our pineal organ, there are rods and cones like we have in our normal eyes that we think about, and those rods and cones are sensing light and darkness. So it's all heavily symbolic of what we're going through spiritually as well. That's how God works. He does everything on multiple levels all at the same time. So Las Vegas, as I was saying, is another major symbol of the North Pole. So here, this just shows like one segment of the Las Vegas Strip. Hey, Rainwater, good to see you. So this is it says Delano, but this is the Mandalay Bay. The main place that says Mandalay Bay might be like on the left over here, or maybe behind it. But this is the Mandalay Bay, and that basically means like the shoreline of the North Pole Island. And then right next to it, you have, and this is also where that event happened, where I was explaining. It's like the Kraken shooting down onto the uh, onto the Earth, but also that festival was called the Harvest Festival. So, I mean, think about it in context like that, and, it was also, the Route 91 festival, and it happened on October 1st, so there you have the 91101, so, all these things are related, and, of course, here is, New York, so again, with the York yew tree symbolism right next to the Black Mountain with the blue beam shooting up from it, and this is the Excalibur Casino, and the blue beam is also symbolized by the sword and the stone, which is the Excalibur. So again, what are the odds? They put the Excalibur right next to the blue beam, and the castle is also symbolic of the North Pole Mountain, and even the MGM. I think all the major casinos are symbolic of the North Pole, the whole area, and obviously, these architects they know all this symbolism and they planned all this out, of course. And the reason the MGM is symbolic is because the G, as I was showing, is shown in the center of a lot of maps because God is at the North Pole, and that above the North Pole. And on a lot of maps, you'll see a G in the center. Also, like the Freemason symbol, they have the G in the center, and that's like a symbol of the Earth, essentially. And then here, the M's are like mountains. So you essentially have like the split mountain with God in the center, and that's like the blue beam. So, you have all these things, plus they have the stratosphere and a bunch of other things too. You could look up the names of a lot of these casinos. Like I forget what it means, but I looked up like the Bellagio and that name, coincides. And I think I have a couple other okay, so here's an example of the Urbano Monte map. Let me see. It's upside down. Let's see. All right. Yeah, so you could see that the G is in the center, and then there would right here, and it's a split mountain. So God is right in the center. That's the blue beam that rises and hits the apex dome and breaks through the dome. And okay, so yeah, so here's the Freemason symbol that we all know. This I think is symbolic of the Earth. God like essentially compassed the dome. This is how you make a circle, and then the square is like the Earth, the ground. So here's a view of Las Vegas from far away. You have the giant. This blue beam is just so crazy. And then so you have this on one side, and on the other side you have the Space Needle. Here's another view. Here's I showed this before. This is what happened at that. And keep in mind, I don't think it says it on here, but this was the Harvest Festival. So think about what's coming up in this world. And he was on the 32nd floor, which is right under the capstone, essentially. Here's another view of the area. So this is the Excalibur sign. I can't like say if this is a Mandela effect or not, but I wouldn't be surprised. It looks like it's kind of weird. Like, why wouldn't these letters be a little more separated? The A and the L are kind of just right on top of each other, and then the E and the X are actually connected. So I'd have to hear what some other people have to say about that, but it's just something to bring up and it's a possibility. And here you can see, I think this is the Luxor right behind it with the beam shooting up. But if it's not, the blue beam is right next to the Excalibur, the castle. And another one too, like Treasure Island. The North Pole is essentially like the Treasure Island, So, and this is another casino in Las Vegas. And when you see this like X symbolism, that's the North Pole. This skull, the North Pole is like the Skull Mountain because right now it's like a dead area, but it's going to be coming back to life soon when Jesus returns. And like I said, this is a typical Mandela effect too, where the R's get extended legs. So I don't know if this one's a Mandela effect or not, but something else to look out for because I'll be showing you guys tons of extended leg R's in logos, and a lot of them I am 100% sure about. So I know for a fact that it's a pattern of the Mandela effect. I just can't confirm. But this is like an old casino too, so it very likely had a clean font because this is like the dome, also the top of the dome. And these letters, anyone who's making a font like this would just keep the letters clean, like have a nice border here. So extending the R's down doesn't add, it takes away from the title, so I think that's probably a Mandela effect. And of course, who else has a giant hotel? I don't know if I think it's just a hotel and not a casino also, but of course, Trump's got his name in, a giant gold building in Las Vegas. And this is the New York, showing that. And the sign for New York is a dome. Alright, and this is the, stratosphere, I think. And, also, yeah, if you look on top of the stratosphere, this is really crazy, actually. I don't know if anyone's ever mentioned this, but, they have, like, rides on top of this thing. So these are, like, carnival rides where you can, like, swing around and stuff, and this is, like, a ride that shoots you up and down. So this is, like, literally like a needle plunger. I mean, that's, like, totally over the top. And then this, came out recently, it just shows how they always have this, like, Space Needle explosion type of, imagery, coming at us, year after year. And this is also, of course, something that Jurassic talks about all the time, because he's expecting a big event in Seattle, and many people are too. But I think he's, been the real big, pusher of that, of course. And then in Seattle too, they have a new team called not new anymore, I guess, but relatively new, called the Kraken. So what are the odds? Again, the Kraken at the North Pole. And you can also arrange these letters, and he's talked about this too. It's like the seed of L, or you could also rearrange it to be like L state, like EL state, like the state of God. But of course, these people's god is the Kraken or the devil. Yeah, so just a couple other logos for that. Here's they always have to say release the Kraken. That's a big thing. Interesting. He's standing right next to a dome. The anchor is big too. The anchor is usually symbolized with the Kraken as well, because once the Kraken comes down to the earth, its tentacles essentially wrap people up and bring them down even farther to the abyss, basically. And like an anchor, it pulls you down. And this was a huge event too in 2020, no less. Yes, the Black Rock is definitely symbolic of the North Pole Mountain. Um, so 2020, that this is the TT year, the Antichrist. When you see one T, it's like a cross for Jesus, and when you see two T's, it's like a double cross for the Antichrist. So on this year, on New Year's, they happened to do this like extremely extravagant, like show on the Space Needle, and this wasn't actually happening on the Space Needle. You had to like see it. It's like augmented reality, but like tons of like Kraken needle, DNA. Uh, just like check this out for yourself if you're interested in it. And it's called the Borealis Light Festival, or Festival of Light, and the Aurora Borealis is the North Pole, or it was at the North Pole, or it emanates from the North Pole. So again, the North Pole symbolism. Okay, so yeah, here's an article on it, and I'll get into this king thing too, because Seattle is in King County, and of course, Jesus is the King of Kings, so they use the king symbolism a lot and things. Um, so here we have this event, of course. Now, the first case of this in the United States actually happened in Seattle. So we have what I think was a good thing, because the news told us it was the worst thing ever. So that means it's a good thing. I think it's like the seeds, from God, essentially. That's depicted on the I Pet Goat 2 black or chalkboard. Um, and it essentially emanates, from the North Pole, because that's where God is. So what do we see? The first case in the United States is at one of these North Pole locations. And this was actually the county that it started in, and here you can see it's right above King County, and this is where Seattle is. And a lot of these recurring, symbols and things involve king. So, like I said, you'll see chess a lot of times and things, and that's called the game of kings. Um, the English language, the Mandela Effect and the world script, of course, utilize all the languages in the world. I've heard a lot of information and things from people in other countries, and like Japanese, for instance. And there's certainly Mandela effects in all the different languages, I'm sure, but it's predominantly English and the stuff coming out of the United States. And when you speak proper English, it's known as the King's English. And horse racing, this is something that Jurassic's really into also, and it's called the Sport of Kings. And I'll be mentioning one of these uh, horses coming up. Probably next stream. I don't think I'll be able to get to it this stream. So of course, another Jurassic thing. Elvis is known as the king, so he's like him and Trump are basically the two most popular people ever, or at least within the last century. So it's no wonder that the two of them are like the Antichrist and what a lot of this world script is centered around. So you have like this movie about Elvis, and he's making like the North Pole Mountain here. Um, and when he died, he actually died on the toilet, and the toilet, which is another satanic joke. They call it the throne. So, and Trump actually has a gold toilet. He's known for having a gold toilet. So he's basically crapping on the throne, and the throne is symbolic of our third eye, which is where we'll either have Christ or the Antichrist sitting in our temple. Actually, when Elvis died, he was, reading a book called, about Jesus. It was called The Scientific Search for Jesus. So, I mean, and of course, he didn't die. It's ridiculous. So then Trump also being associated with the king. This is The Economist, uh, Time Magazine, King Me. Here we have the mirror symbolism and Trump being king. So they're obviously pushing, the king thing is obviously important. And here, so on March 11th, we see this is the start of the pan. This is when it was declared. So this is 3/11 on 2020, and that takes us to Godzilla. Um, Now, Godzilla is symbolic of two things. Here he's like the North Pole Mountain shooting the blue beam up, and this also is kind of like the army of the Kraken, attacking him from all sides, like attacking the camp of the Saints. And he's even making these water ripples, and when you see these concentric circles, that's like the North Pole. And Godzilla is the king of the monsters. And here's another ridiculous Godzilla poster where they're on the two towers here, and you can see there's like flying vehicles going into it, and explosions, and two planes, and it's just pretty obvious predictive programming. So this is interesting. This is people celebrate Godzilla Day, I guess, particularly in Japan, and it's on November 3rd, which is 11/3, like the 311, because Godzilla also symbolizes the CV spiked ball, and I'll show you that. And the CV spiked ball, the pan started on 3/11, like Godzilla Day. And the reason it's November 3rd is because this is when the first Godzilla movie came out in Japan, Gojira again. So, this is from the first, Godzilla movie that they started, coming out with, a bunch of these new monster movies because all these monsters that everyone knows about, like Godzilla and King Kong, they're, heavily, symbolic of these major world script, events and symbols. So, when Godzilla swims around, he actually just looks like a spiked ball swimming around. All you could see is, like, his back. And, this is I think I have, yeah, so this is also like, Jaws, like when Jaws swims, you just see that back fin, and I'll show you why that's important. But it looks when he's swimming around, it looks like one of these, sea mines or, naval mines, and how these work is they have, like, almost like these, needles or, like, spikes on the outside, and if something hits it with enough force, like a big ship, it'll explode. And here you see some pictures. This is probably colorized. Just people dumping these sea mines into the water. And here you see, yeah, God, this is from some previous videos I've made. If you're interested in these topics, I have some pre-produced videos that are like music videos that have all these, a lot of this information in them. So when Godzilla is swimming, okay, yeah, so he's like swimming towards these guys. It looks just like one of those naval mines or a CV spiked ball. Yeah. And then I think this also relates to the quote from Jaws, which is now "You're going to need a bigger boat." It used to be "We're going to need a bigger boat," but this is another message from God, I think, telling us that we're going to need a bigger vessel or a bigger third eye, a bigger spirituality, in order to deal with these seeds from God and this evolution, in order to pass this test, essentially. So yeah, there's more shots of Godzilla just swimming through ships and destroying them. So he's destroying vessels, which are symbolic of our bodies. Hey, subtle realms, good to see you. Yeah, destroying vessels like a sea mine, and the vessels are like our body and the or temple, and our ship is captained from the pineal organ where either God or the devil sits, or the Christ or Antichrist. So in the first Godzilla movie of this new series, his first opponent is like the V, and there's like a group of soldiers who go underground, and they find like this monster's nest essentially, and there's tentacles all over the place, which is symbolic of the Kraken, and it's got like all these babies in pods, and it's like little squids in pods, and like pods and cocoons is something that's in almost all these world script movies and TV shows and stuff. So here we see them actually battling it out at the end of the movie, and Godzilla is shooting the blue beam at the Kraken essentially. So if you turn this around, this is basically what's going to happen in real life, and you often have to do this with the symbolism. They don't show it to us exactly, plain as day. Hey, thanks, Jared. Appreciate it. So he's like the CV and the blue beam fighting the V. You could also look at it too, like right pillar versus left pillar. So in I think this is the next movie. It's called Kong Skull Island, and they introduce King Kong into the stories. And in order to get to King Kong's island, these helicopters, these military people, have to fly through this perpetual storm. And it's said that there is a storm all around the North Pole Island. So when they fly through the storm, then it becomes calm, and they're at this North Pole Island. And whenever you see a large mountain in one of these movies, it's the North Pole Mountain, and especially when you see some kind of split mountain, that's the North Pole Island or the North Pole Mountain, because this is where the blue beam is going to shoot out of. It's kind of like a volcano, as Jay Dreamers would put it. And this is another Mandela effect. Try to think for yourself right now if the Smoky Mountains have this E or they don't have this E. Because I definitely remember the E being in the name. But if you look up the Smoky Mountains, they no longer have this E, and letters coming and going is a big pattern of the Mandela effect, particularly E's and L's and some others. But yeah, I mean, I've heard of the Smoky Mountains my whole life, and I've never seen it spelled this way. Looks ridiculous. And I think this is symbolic of this Smoky Mountain. And just another example, and many, millions of other people remember it being Smokey the Bear. Every single person I've ever asked has said Smokey the Bear. And this is another pattern of the Mandela effect, where the word the is either dropped out of something or added to something. And now it's just Smoky Bear. So the word smoke is clearly a pattern in the Mandela effect, and the word bear is also. These are important things. Um, EL, I do think it's related to electricity. I mean, L is also a name for God. And as far as the word the goes, it's actually really interesting, because the is is that a room quote? What's up, Nate? um yeah, Elohim for sure. So the word the, for starters, it equals 33 if you add it up, the T, H, and E. T is 20, H is 8, and E is 5. So that's funny, Nate. So that's 33. The word the also, weirdly enough, means God. Because if you think about like the word theology, it's like the study of God, and the word is like the study of the word the. And there's other words too that have the word the in them that basically reference God. And in Spanish, El means the, but El, of course, also means God. So there is a strange and interesting connection between the word the and God and 33. And the mountain at the North Pole is said to be 33 miles wide as well. So here we have King Kong being introduced on his island. He's looking down at the this water mirror. This is some you'll see, mirror symbolism, water mirror symbolism in pretty much everything that's world script related. And King Kong, so like as Godzilla represents CV and the blue beam, King Kong basically represents us. This is Christ consciousness waking up in people, and again, we have the word king. And here we have the concentric rings. This is like the North Pole, and since he's at the North Pole, and he's looking into this mirror, what does he find? He finds Kraken. So this giant tentacled octopus thing attacks him, and you kind of think that this might actually be like one of the fights in the movie, like he might have a tough time with this Kraken, but he actually just defeats it really easily, and all this black goo comes out of it because squid ink is often used as a symbol for black goo. So is coffee. And if you're, drinking a cup of coffee right now or something, that doesn't necessarily mean there's black goo in it, but coffee, just because it's any kind of like black liquid, is used as black goo symbolism. Not that coffee is necessarily healthy, but so here we see, I just put like King Kong eats Krakens for breakfast because when you have the Christ consciousness, and he's just symbolic of that. There's all kinds of characters in all kinds of movies and things that are symbolic of the Christ consciousness and the Christ character, but he just stomps the Kraken and eats it because it's no big deal to him, like it should be for us. So here we also have Kong. They have him posing like the creation of Adam, and there's a yeah. So this little girl's like his friend, and you'll also often see a magical child. Not that she's like magical necessarily, but that's the symbolism. She can like communicate with him and stuff. So that's like a form of magic. And um, a lot of times, the magical child helps the Christ character or the character that represents us, become more Christ-like. So just keep that in mind because there's usually like a magical child in all of these movies too. Okay. And, I actually just took this image off Google, but it was cropped already 'cause, there's nudity in this, but of course, we've all seen this painting, but, I just don't wanna give YouTube any, reasons to do anything. But this God like, the angle of their hands used to be like this, and God used to be way up, to the right, up here. Um, and Adam's hand used to be pointed up like this. And God also used to be in clouds, but now he's in a shape that looks like a human brain. Hey, Donut, good to see you, man. Oh, there was a strange. Oh, wow. Yeah, that's really interesting. Subtle realms. So God used to be in clouds, but now he's in the brain. So he's almost like, or he is like in like, he's basically representing the third eye area. So it's like God reaching out to us, and most people don't care, so they have like this limp wrist. And Adam's expression actually is like disinterested essentially. And that's most people, unfortunately, but God is trying to reach us. That's why he's like lowering himself and he's in our third eye, trying to communicate with us. And for people like us who actually care and are trying to communicate with God, um, we do care, so we're not like how Adam is in this picture. And you could see tons of examples of how this used to be. Just look on Google for parodies and artworks of the creation of Adam. And I've shown a bunch in my previous videos as well. And Brian Stavely, of course, I learned about this from him, and he's shown tons of stuff on this. You can still see his content on Odyssey. I think it's been taken down, or he took it down on YouTube. So here we have iPico 2, which we're all familiar with. So this is from previous videos I made a few years ago. Um, so just saying that iPico 2, it reveals this whole end time script. We just have to figure out the symbolism that's in it. And two of the symbols that are really difficult to find are the CV spiked ball and the V. I don't think most people know where they are. And of course, here you have the mark of the beast symbolism right over the third eye. And this is, the goat trapped in the prison essentially. But yeah, they are both featured prominently. So this is the CV. So just think like, if the makers of this put a spiked ball here, it would be too obvious. There wouldn't be any challenge to that at all. But putting this symbol, it makes us, dig and have to think about it. And I feel like I had a Holy Spirit revelation as to what this was, and Enter the Stars did too. But we definitely had like separate ones. It was just interesting to see. It was like confirmation. So yeah, that, and this is all about evolution. Like we were talking about it in previous videos. And I'll get more into that. I got some more of that coming up soon. And then the V are these UFOs, and I'll show you how UFOs relate to the Corona thing and the V and all that. And like we saw some of that in Mars Attacks in the previous video as well. And these are, of course, shaped, like needle points. And the three V's is kind of like the initial two and the booster. And what do? They drop bombs on this dome, and inside of this dome, you have the black smoke kraken. This is like the kraken in Lost. The smoke monster, and it's also making a dome shape here. And the city represents our world. Whenever you see a city symbolism, lots of movies take place in just one city, but that symbolizes the world. So this is the kraken tentacles and the V in IPECO too. So that come back to that. It's kind of a joke I was making in a previous video, because most people think that this was either bad or nothing. But my position on it is that it was actually a good thing. I think it's something that God sent to us to help us evolve. And then the people who got the V essentially inverted God's gift to them. Unfortunately, they were tricked into it through a lot of this, satanic symbolism and all that in Hollywood. All these black magic spells. They've put people into a they've made people fall asleep spiritually. So yes, I look past the crudeness, because I think IPEC Go 2 was made by the Antichrist or the devil essentially. So this is like God, like the Sky Father, his seed coming down, and it becomes these sharks. And these two words are equal the same number. And I'll show you how that's important too. And there's a lot of things too, like Ovid's metamorphosis. There's a ton of symbolism going on here, and it also originated in China, which I brought up before with like the Gremlins 2 movie. China means essentially the central kingdom or the divine realm. So this is like God's realm at the North Pole, where the CV originated. And this burning house, is symbolic of our bodies or our temple. And when these shark attacks happen, that's why you always hear about shark attacks. It's basically what burns our house down, what destroys it. And you'll also usually see, sharks with lasers, sharks blowing up. I'll show you at the end of the first Jaws movie, the shark blows up, and it creates this fire and destroys the temple essentially. And then we're supposed to, if we evolve, rise from the ashes of this destroyed temple into a new body. We're supposed to get new bodies. Let's see. So you'll probably remember this guy. And if you look up what his name means in Italian, it literally translates to Jaws. So you can do this for yourself, but this is just a screenshot from Google. But yeah, his name means Jaws. So when you see this, that's him also. And he was the face, or like the poster child for this whole event, like the pan. Oh, got it again. And if you notice, the shark's in kind of a weird shape. It looks kind of like a sickle. And his name, if you look up what his name means, it means sickle. So you're basically seeing a sharksicle right here, and this is him. And this just shows how the symbols can mean many things at once, but it's all basically the same thing too. It's really sophisticated. So here's the Jaws poster. This is also a Mandela effect as well, because many people remember a bite being taken out of the logo. It was either at the J here or maybe at the S here, but that's no longer a thing. And this guy's name too, Roy. Used to be Roy Schneider, but now it's Roy Scheider. A lot of yeah, a lot of famous people have their names changed. It's usually like a one letter change. So this is the scene where he's going to deliver that line with the Mandela effect. So Jaws, pops out of the ocean and scares him, and he goes back into the cabin here, and he says, they're all on this ship together, but he says, "You're going to need a bigger boat." He obviously used to say, "We're going to need a bigger boat." But that, I think, is God God's message to us saying, "Hey, you guys are going to need a bigger, vessel or container. You guys better, step up your, spirituality at this time." And in the movie Jaws, they have a chalkboard shark. This is the hand of the captain of the ship that you just saw. This guy here. And, so, again, with the repeated symbolism for my pet goat too, here he's, like, dragging his nails down the chalkboard. He just drew this, giant shark. Here you can see the shark right next to him. So again, this is like I pet goat too. And, they're, fishing through, or they're searching through the remains of another shark, I think, or they're pulling stuff out of another, fish that they caught, or another shark or something like that. And, here you have the, 007 symbolism for James Bond, which is gonna come into play here soon, and also, the word paradise, the sportsman's paradise. This is, symbolic of the Garden of Eden, which is at the North Pole, which is likely hidden in the, Apex Dome, is what I believe. Yeah, Captain Quint. That's probably, significant too. Thanks. So their ship is called the Orca. The Orca is known for, being pretty much the only predator of the shark, or the great white shark. So you have the shark attacking their vessel. And here you have, like, the yellow and blue, Christ symbolism. This is how they survive, or at least the last, guy survives. The captain dies. So he's, climbing up this pole. This is like the North Pole, the blue beam. You have the cross, symbolism, and this is like, the infinity, or like the double O portal, or like the 007. And we'll get into that more in the future. So here you have they threw the or they got the tank into Jaws's mouth, and then he shoots it. Here you see it, and he explodes. So the exploding shark symbolism. You wouldn't think it comes up in things, but it comes up in, several things. It's weird. So here's another movie called This Is the End. This is a comedy, but it doesn't really matter the genre, as long as it's like a big world script, world stage, piece of media. Um, there's going to be world script symbolism, and this movie has like heavy, heavy world script, symbolism in it. And a lot of people have pointed this out, because this is when like the rapture scene happens with the blue beams. And I don't think a lot of people notice this though. The main character, who basically represents us, he's got a Jaws, T-shirt. So with his Jaws T-shirt, he's standing right next to this Corona sign, and that's when, essentially the end of the world happens, and the earthquake starts happening, and then the rapture with the blue beam happens, and there's blue beams all over the place, rapturing people up. Um, and I think that this, the largest blue beam will, certainly happen at the center of the world, at the North Pole, but there may be, and I think there will likely be smaller blue beams all around the Earth, and they might even like lead us to the North Pole. And I think that's where, Project Bluebeam, comes into play, because I think that they're going to basically, when these blue beams erupt from the Earth, they're going to project hologram, spaceships like above each blue beam, and they're going to say that that's like an alien ship, but that's not what's going to be going on, of course. Like this, like if you see a scene like this, in the next, 5 or 10 years or so, that's probably when they're going to launch Project Bluebeam, and they have all the technology ready to do it, and they're going to try to fool people into thinking that this return of Jesus Christ is actually, an evil, alien invasion, and that people are going to fear it and all that. Meanwhile, it's, the best thing ever, similar to, the CV event. And here he is, surprised with the Jaws shirt. All right, so going to, Stranger Things, and yeah, like we were talking about before, this is like the Kraken over the dome. Um, this one's interesting. This is for season 3. So here, this is like the Kraken tentacles at the bottom here, and these, when you see fireworks, they're symbolic of like the, sparks that happen inside of our pineal organs, because, inside of the organ, like the, eye we were talking about, they do have the rods and cones, but there's also microscopic crystals that are, what's called piezoelectric. And, piezoelectric crystals are what's in, like Bic lighters. And when you put pressure on those crystals, they spark. And I think that's what's happening on a microscopic level inside of us. And of course, when you see this like spike, it's like the spiked ball symbolism also, which is, contributing to those sparks. So it's kind of like a double. And then, so this character's name is L, and then this character basically represents us. He's like the main character. And when you see two characters holding hands like this is like I call it the M handhold, and Jay Dreamers talks about this too. This is symbolic of the mountain at the center, and she's like, the Jesus character essentially in this. So the main character, unites with the Jesus character at the center. And here, you got the pyramid, the L character. So her name is 11, and L, they call her L, but it's like EL, like God. And of course, there's just tons of symbolism. But the reason I brought it up was to show you this. So this guy's one of the main characters, and his younger brother essentially gets possessed by the Kraken entity, and he becomes a spy, basically. But they figure out that not only is he spying on them for the Kraken, they can also use him to spy on the Kraken. So it's like a back and forth, and that happens in a lot of movies. So he's detailed out this like map, which is like all these tentacles all over the place, and then they also just so happen to have the Jaws poster. So you have the Jaws and the Kraken, right overlapping each other. And then he finds, a drawing from his kid brother that's like the dome with the Kraken. So this is kind of creepy. This is a Jordan Peele movie, and this guy's another big world stage, world script director, and he made Get Out and another movie called Nope, which I'll be talking about. And this movie called Us is all about doppelgangers. And notice like the red and black symbolism, because that's the left pillar and the Kraken symbolism. So interestingly enough, the word doppelganger is also a Mandela effect. I clearly remember it being LE, but now it's EL. Like the word for God. Um, but they use God also as the devil too. It depends on like capitalization and things like that. So I'm not exactly sure 100% what this means, but I know the word doppelganger changed, which is interesting because the word imposter also changed. And it's interesting too, because when I put it in Google, the AI couldn't even really figure out how to spell it. You could see the two different spellings all over the place. So like apparently the preferred spelling of imposter is now with this OR, but I never saw it like that in my entire life. It was always ER. So here you have like imposter syndrome with the OR, but then here's imposter syndrome with the ER. So it's almost like the word imposter has an imposter. And of course, the E and the Yo are both symbolic, but I'll get into letters in the future. And this became popular recently, and I'll show that. This is a video game called Among Us, and it's like that movie Us, and you'll if you keep this in mind, you'll hear this a lot in movies and stuff. They'll be saying like, there's an imposter among us or something like that. It's said, quite often. So here, this kind of showed the Mandela effect to a lot of people, because people were saying, "Hey, you guys spelled imposter wrong in your video game," but they actually didn't. They were going with the new spelling after the Mandela effect. But a lot of people noticed this. I never played this game, but it actually looks like fun. And it came out before the pan. And look, too, one of the characters has a roll of toilet paper on his head. So that is very likely predictive programming, because this game became huge. So yeah, so they tell you it's basically like you have a crew of people, and a few of the people are imposters, and you're trying to do all these tasks in the game, but then the couple of people who are imposters are trying to foil your activities and subvert things, and you have to try to figure out who's the imposter, which is a lot like real life if you get what I'm saying. So here, you can see Among Us, it became popular in mid 2020, literally, right after the V started coming out, and people were, acting like imposters essentially. And it's interesting too, because it came out in 2018, but it wasn't really too popular until this time. And you could, read all about it and check it out. I think this was, a huge part of the world script. This was like one of the biggest video games of the last 5 years or so. So, going back to this movie, Us, this is the main family. There's also a father, and, look what the kid is wearing, he's got the Jaws shirt and, her shirt too. Yeah, so, she's got the white rabbit, and you'll see the white rabbit a lot, and her coloring too. You have, like, the, yellow and blue here, and when you see, like, gray and, white and black, that's, like, the central pillar, and the yellow and blue is, like, the central pillar too, and you'll if you keep white rabbits in mind, like Alice in Wonderland, you'll see that in a lot of movies as well. So this is the family, they're in their house, and essentially what's happened in this movie is their doppelgangers, just appeared, outside, and they invade their house, and their house is, thank you, Supernatural Bible Changes, I appreciate that. So their house is their temple, and their imposters here invade their temple, and notice the red and black, kraken coloring. So, yeah, whenever you see, like, a house play a big role in these, world script, movies and TV shows and stuff, like a haunted house, that's, symbolic of our temple, and they have to face their, imposters in the movie. Alright, so, moving on to, Moonraker, this character, is named, Jaws, and he's, like, kinda like, the Kraken, kind of, over the dome, essentially. Actually, no, I take that back, that's not what's going on here, sorry. So the main villain, is, Drax, and that's, of course, like Dracula, and then, Jaws is gonna come into play soon too. Sorry, I was, a little distracted there. So this, is a big Mandela Effect scene. This is, one of the huge Mandela effects that a lot of people know about. It's with Dolly and Jaws. So here, Jaws, when you see people breaking through the glass, that's like breaking through the dome kind of symbolism. And Jaws, he crashes through this thing, and he starts off the movie as a villain, but he actually ends up being a good guy, interestingly enough. So this thing's on top of him. This is kind of like a North Pole symbol too, with like the concentric circles and like the eight poles. It's almost like the eight-sided star. So this girl, Dolly, just comes up. She's like a stranger, and she helps him out of this situation. They push the thing over and wipes himself off, and he looks at her and, notice Jaws has this, metal mouth, and yeah, like Call for Zero saying her, she didn't have, like, this, cleavage, that's another part of the Mandela Effect too. Um, so he's got this metal mouth, and then, people remember her, of course, having braces, but also not being, like, this, like, sexually, dressed with the cleavage and all that, like, she was more, like, nerdy with braces. So, what the name Dolly actually means is a gift from God. So she's, more appealing now, and she no longer has the braces, and braces typically symbolize, holding something back, like to brace something. So the gift from God is no longer being held back. And then Jaws smiles, and they instantly fall in love. And I'll get into this in a second too, because this is the gift from God. So they instantly fall in love, and it makes totally no sense now because he has a metal mouth and she no longer has a metal mouth. So there's, this is just a James Bond movie. It's not like a David Lynch movie where you have to like, seriously read into the symbolism to understand it. But this scene makes absolutely no sense now. She obviously used to have braces. So now going back to this, Jaws didn't used to have this giant bulge on his third eye, because this is also part of the Mandela effect in this movie too. This, it's like the bigger vessel that we were talking about. And here's another view of it. Nobody remembers this bulge here. It's ridiculous. Um, and yeah, so like I said, that's the gift from God. Because if you look up Dolly, Dolly is short for the name Dorothy, like Wizard of Oz, and that's the name Dorothy means a gift from God. So these are the two main characters of Moonraker. This is James Bond, of course. So this symbolism is also interesting. I don't want to get too into it, but notice like the atomic symbol, essentially. Twin pillars. This might even be like blue beam. North Pole Mountain, and Drax again. The Moonraker. There's just like so much going on. But then they actually sacrifice themselves so that these main characters can survive. So like these characters represent us essentially, and these two represent God's gift to us. God's sacrifice and this new third eye. and they both become good characters at the end, and they blow up to save the other people. So yeah, here's a quote in the Bible about the third eye. The light of the body is the eye. If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. But if thine eye be evil, your thy whole body shall be full of darkness. And how great could that darkness be? Here's another one. The lamp of the body is the eye. If therefore your eye is good, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. So I wrote this kind of clunky on purpose because I just wanted to get the point across. Because like it sounds silly at first, I understand, but that's what's going on here. If you see what I'm saying, God is telling us that this word Jaws is important. So we have the character Jaws with the new third eye, the gift from God, and we have the movie Jaws, where this character says you're going to need a bigger boat or a bigger vessel. Yeah, you're going to need a bigger boat. I was going to get into the bridge stuff, but I'll save that for another time. Essentially, short, the third eye is also like the bridge. That's like where you captain a vessel. And there's a number of bridge related things that have happened. This was a recent one. And you could also, this is where like the Golden Gate Bridge symbolism comes in, which is another place, like the Space Needle, where something might happen because of that symbolism. And of course, the word Golden Gate Bridge, it's all important. So this is the movie Noah by, excuse me, filmmaker Darren Aronofsky. And in this movie, Noah goes to see his father Methuselah in this cave inside of a mountain. So remember, like what I was saying earlier with Captain America, where they go into like the underground cave where he finds the blue beam under the world tree. You'll often see characters in caves in these movies and stories. And it's also often usually a crystal cave because there's crystals in the pineal gland. So anyway, Noah's in this cave and he's meeting with Methuselah here, who's Anthony Hopkins. And what does Anthony Hopkins give him? He gives him this spiked ball. And Noah, now they treat this like a hallucination type scene, but that's not the real symbolism of what's going on here. This is the CV symbolism. And note also, it's a gift from his father, and of course, God is the father. So he has this CV spiked ball, and the CV starts rising, and it rises literally right past his third eye, right up the center. And Russell Crowe even has this extra like dot on his third eye area. And I think sometimes that comes into play too with certain actors. They have like maybe something going on with their third eye area. But I'm not saying that that's always the case with Russell Crowe or something, but just interesting. But the real thing here is the CV ball rising up. So he watches it go up, and the CV ball goes up and up. And what does it become? It becomes the ark. And he has this vision of the ark, because the ark is the giant vessel, or you're going to need a bigger boat. Um, and that's the third eye. It's like our container for God, for spirituality inside of us. uh, oh yeah, that's a good call. Subtle realms, about the jawbone being a weapon. Yeah, that's interesting, very interesting. Yeah, that's super interesting, thanks. um so yeah, I'm just saying, you're going to need a bigger boat. This is all the same symbolism with the CV. Now this is from the Hobbit movies. This is the Arkenstone. And a lot of people just take this movie at face value, like it's a bunch of greedy dwarves who just want their gold in the mountain, and they especially want this crystal because it's so valuable. But the reason it's so valuable is because it represents the third eye, and that's why it's called the Arkenstone. So it has the word ark in it, like Noah's Ark, and like the Ark of the Covenant. And where's the Ark of the Covenant stored? In Solomon's temple. It's in the the holiest place in the temple, behind the veil, right? So this Arkenstone goes at the top of their throne, which has this symbol on it, which is of course heavily symbolic. And here you have Bilbo with one of the dwarves, and they're looking at this wall, mural, and this is essentially version of the tree of life. And you have the X. There's a lot of things. It's like the three stages, like you see with the the Sephiroth on the tree of life. And then, the capstone at the top, and here's the Arkenstone in the middle because it represents the third eye and it's shining. This is like the movie The Shining. The kid has this like third eye capability. So yeah, the Arkenstone at the top of the throne of the king. Oh, that's awesome to hear, Subtle Realms. I appreciate that. Arkenstone. Yeah, so I mentioned it here too. So Noah's Ark, the biggest boat, the biggest vessel, is said to have come to rest atop Mount Ararat. And I'm not saying that this didn't even happen on a physical level. It certainly may have, but on a spiritual level too. The name Ararat just means high mountain or sacred land. So it's like the mountain at the North Pole, essentially, the highest mountain. The Noah's Ark is the biggest boat, and the mountain at the North Pole is the tallest, biggest mountain. So here's more of his vision, where you got the animals going into the ark, and then the ark starts, shining. So here we have The Fountain. This is also a movie by Darren Aronofsky. So same director as Noah. And here, of course, this is like the dome symbolism. Now, of course, this is a sphere, but you see you have the ground right here. And this is like the world tree. And this is shown in the movie many times, actually. So this is like the dome. And here you have like another poster for it. So this is like the world tree. And the dome symbolism again as well. So this is how the movie starts, The Fountain. Therefore, the Lord God banished Adam and Eve from the Garden of Eden and placed a flaming sword. Keep this in mind too, to protect the tree of life. So this is really dark. It's hard to see. But if you can make it out, this is three people, and this is Hugh Jackman right here. And this is their shields. They're going into they're trying to essentially find the tree of life. And here you can see a little better. It's a really dark scene, but they're you know uh, conquistadors, explorers trying to find the tree of life. Um, and then what happens is they have a bunch of needles that get shot at them, and you can see this scene for yourself. I know it's hard to see here, but there's a bunch of needles being shot at them, and the other two guys get scared and run away. But Hugh Jackman holds his ground, and he keeps going forward. And the guys that run away get killed by needles. So this is like one of the guys who ran away, and this giant needle is in his back, and it killed him. And Hugh Jackman, he's looking, he moves forward and he looks up, and this is essentially the North Pole mountain. So he has to climb to the top of the mountain. And these are all like the natives. I don't know if these are like supposed to be the Mayans. I kind of forget. Which are now the Maya. The word Mayan is actually it lost the N. So now if you look at like the Mayan calendar, like the Mayan civilization, it's just called the Maya. And Maya also means like an illusion, which is interesting. Hey, what's up, AJ and Dean? Good to see you guys. So here you have the main character, Hugh Jackman. Yeah, look it up now. It's not Mayan anymore. um, so he's climbing up the stairs of the mountain here, going up the mountain. I know it's dark, sorry. So here again, this is the split mountain at the North Pole. And again, he's gone up the mountain, but again, he's going under the mountain too. And what do we see here at the gate, guarding the gate? It's the Kraken. So this guy has all these spiked tentacles coming off of him. So he's symbolic of the Kraken essentially. And he's got the flaming sword that's keeping the main character away. But then he eventually, passes this test, and he gets to go to the Tree of Life. Um, So what I think is going on here is like the Kraken is essentially surrounding the apex dome, or yeah, the apex dome. And when the blue beam goes up, it disperses the Kraken away from that area. And then the Garden of Eden that's being held, inside of that apex dome will then become available to God's people. And that's essentially the camp of the saints. So here we see it's like a bubble rising. It's kind of like that rising Earth theory that people have been talking about. And I'm not necessarily on board with that, but it's interesting. But yeah, so like this is like the Earth, this is the world tree in the center, and this is the dome over us. And he's like rising up in this ocean, this like space ocean. And here you can see it better. So this is like space, and he's like a bubble rising up, and this is like the cover of the poster. And this dagger, you'll often see like swords and daggers being the what you call it, like the guide to getting to the North Pole or to like a North Pole location. Like also, for instance, I don't have the images for it, but a lot of people are familiar with the movie The Princess Bride. So like, there's a scene where Inigo Montoya takes his sword out and he asks his father, which is symbolic of God when they bring up the father like that in these movies, and he asks his father, his dead father, and God is like, spirit, spiritually speaking. He asks his father to guide his sword, so, his father guides his sword right into the tree, and then he, goes into that under that tree, and under that tree is where he finds, the hero, being tortured, and the hero has to rise up out of that. And the Princess Bride is, of course, heavily symbolic. So this sword is actually like a map to the central area, to that mountain that he was climbing. And, here you also have, like, the concentric circles and the, ruffle. It's like the ruffle pattern that, Jay Dreamers talks about, because, when you look at the, excuse me for a second, I just gotta sorry about that, a little bit of, sinus issues. But yeah, so you have the, concentric, circles here and the, ruffles, because this is like, at the apex dome, this is what it looks like essentially if you're at the North Pole, looking up at the apex dome. And if you're at the apex dome looking down, that's likely what the, North Pole looks like too, because they, mirror each other. So here you have that, bubble symbolism again. He's becoming enlightened and all that. He, rises up through the dome. So this is like, blue beam symbolism, although I get that it's not blue, but the gold stuff is also like, symbolic of the blue beam, gold. I don't wanna get too into the gold, but gold is obviously good. It's like the golden treasure in the mountain in The Hobbit. So he's going up, and he's literally, like, rising up to the apex dome. He's basically going to paradise, And these movies have a lo get complicated, some negative things happen to him too. But yeah, so he's going up towards the apex dome. That's literally what the symbolism is. And then this is when he gets to the world tree. You have the water mirror. This is the tree, the central tree. And then he's, putting so part of the movie, he's like lost his wedding ring, and the wedding ring symbolism is, of course, hugely important. And I'll get more into that in the future. But picture like the marriage to God. We're like God's bride because he's obviously the man in their relationship, and also the ring is like the eclipse symbolism, and the portal as well. So he finds his ring and puts it on, and goes up and become super enlightened, and all the there's a lot going on here. But what I really want to get to is after this, all this symbolism, at the very end of the movie, Darren Aronofsky shows us this spiked ball again, and it's basically like saying, all that God symbolism is in this spiked ball, and these are like seeds that are hanging off of this tree. And this is Rachel Weisz. She's the other main character, and she's holding this spiked ball, and she gives it to Hugh Jackman, and he ends up planting this seed at her grave. Here's her grave, um, and she basically becomes the world tree. So, like, this seed essentially is the seed of the world tree, the CV and the blue beam again. So yeah, the name Isabella means God is my oath, or devoted to God, and her last name Creo is I create, like the creator. So going back to Moonraker, here we have the vessel chasing James Bond, and this is kind of like imposter colors because these are the bad guys. So he's going to eject these mines. So in Moonraker, we have these naval mines. These are like the spiked balls. And this is the movie with the Jaws character. So here's another view, and then those spiked mines destroy their vessel because they had like the imposter colors. These are Drax or Dracula's henchmen. Um, so they obviously their vessel would get destroyed because they're not spiritually capable of handling the spiked balls. Now, Back to the Future, like I touched upon too, the CK here is merged in the logo, and in Back to the Future 2, oh, sorry, just checking out the chat. Yeah, sure. Yeah, there's a lot going on there for sure with the six-pointed star. Um, so here you have Jaws 19. So now Jaws 19, what are the odds that they have 19 here? And then Jaws comes out with the white and blue symbolism. And like I said before, Jaws equals 53, which equals this word. So you have this word 19 and the shark again. And it's a hologram too. So here with Back to the Future 2 or 1, this is a big Mandela effect for me. So this also is like the van that we were talking about, the Volkswagen bus that was in the LA fires. It's this exact coloring and this exact model, I think. But this isn't what the car used to be that these Libyans were in. It was more like this with the slanted front. It was like one of these Toyota vans. So this is a big Mandela effect for me. I definitely do not remember this. And what's interesting about this, so I almost forgot to mention, the model of this Volkswagen bus is called the Moonraker. So there's another connection there. And yeah, I clearly remember the van having this slanted front like this. Oh, yeah, okay. So yeah, here's the picture from the LA fires. It's that same bus with the same coloring. So this is just the quickest photo I could find, but they were saying, houses with blue roofs were surviving the fires, and the Snopes or whatever this is says that that wasn't true, and whether or not it was true or not, yeah, I definitely agree, Jared. It's ridiculous. Um, but this is symbolic. This whole story was just symbolic. The blue roof houses, because the house is our temple, and you want to have a blue roof, because that's like the blue beam. It's the higher up colors on the chakra ladder. Um, so the Columbia symbolism, sure, but this is she's representative of the blue beam. She has like the yellow, blue, and white colors. This is like the step pyramid, the central mountain, and the eternal flame. And this is also a big Mandela effect. Like if you think of the, I just showed it, but if you think of the logo for a Columbia House, if you remember those, like catalogs and things that they would send in the mail, like back in the 1990s. I distinctly remember the Columbia House logo, and it definitely did not look like this. And notice too, it has the blue and white coloring. So this is all the same symbolism. It's essentially the house is the temple, and this is the column of Yah, which is God. And like the C with the O into it, that wasn't like that. It didn't connect down to the H. The H didn't have this left point to it. The A wasn't like this with the point coming out like that either. And we'll get into like what all these could mean in the future. I'm just pointing this out with the same symbolism. Here's like like a still frame from someone's old like VHS tape. So this logo is all this particular logo was always like this. So if you have like an old Columbia House catalog or whatever, the logo is going to look like this. So this is the movie Thor Ragnarok. Thor is like a Christ character. He's doing the Christ pose. Kraken character. Um, sorry, and this is like the dome, of course. Another poster for it. They got the pyramid going. Kraken. So yeah, the Black Kraken. Her weapons are like needles. and then she fights this guy who's got this spiked ball. So he's like the good guy with the spiked ball. So again, we're seeing the battle. It's like God, like I was showing before with Godzilla versus the Kraken villain. So it's like CV versus the V, and she's like shooting needles at these people. And this is like the antlers and the tentacle horns and or the the tentacles and the spikes. It's all the Kraken symbolism. And so yeah, they're fighting Kraken versus CV on Matt's channel a while back. Quantum of Conscience. Definitely check him out if you haven't. Um, Again, you got the CV. This is the 1992 Olympics in Barcelona. These Olympic ceremonies are always heavily symbolic. So here we got the vessel with the spiked balls and the kraken with the black tentacles and the people all trapped in this like CV spiked ball needle prison type of thing. And this goes to the UFOs and all that because Roswell actually happened in Corona. If you look it up, the crash was in this place called Corona, and these UFOs or these UFO shaped towers, like the Space Needle, these are in New York, and this was seen in the Men in Black movies too as UFOs. But this is also in Corona Park, and this is another really crazy one. This is an issue of The Economist. So they're saying, sharp power with the spiked ball. And here we got Chinese influence. And this is kind of like influenza and Chinese, like we were talking about. And it's kind of hard to see, but this actually came out in 2017. So, these people, obviously know what's coming down the pike, and there's probably some significance to this date. I didn't even look it up. I don't think. Trump can the Trump boom last? There's it's just ridiculous. This is just one of the more ridiculous pieces of predictive programming I've seen. Hey, Blue Pac-Man, definitely, guys, check out Blue Pac-Man's channel. He's got an awesome channel with a lot of great residue and things like that, particularly on the Bible changes, and he's got a lot of awesome lion and lamb, wolf and lamb residue. So here we have the movie Falling Down with Michael Douglas, and this is like a movie about like the decline of like the typical white male society. And of course, one of the first things they show is he's at the Corona crossroads. And of course, this dude, we were talking about him earlier. He allegedly died in the Twin Cities. He himself was called a twin. And there's a ton going on there, but he takes the picture right next to it, and this all happened while this event was going on. And this is like one of the cops from Seattle where the pan started. And this guy was obviously just an agent, and he had this Corona jacket or a hoodie on when he was doing like a news interview, and he's saying like, checkmate here again with the chess symbolism, the game of kings, the white versus black, the left versus right pillar. And this was a huge thing too. I think it was in 2015. This was the Super Bowl halftime show with Katy Perry, and she had these shark dancers, if you remember. So this just shows how they put the shark, out there more than you might realize, because this left shark became really famous. People were like, he was like dancing all weird, and he was like off, tempo with the music, and people. Well, I'll show you. So this was the guy in it, and he was the left shark. So this was like a big deal, became a viral sensation. And notice how it's the left shark. So the shark, in my opinion, attacks like both pillars, but they want people to associate with and like the left, pillar. And then this also was a huge thing called Baby Shark. There's no reason for something like this to get like billions of views on YouTube. And it became popular just a couple years before the Corona thing, and actually, really just like a year before it. And it's like the baby symbolism too, like the corona thing starts off small and then gets bigger, it evolves. So here, this is Elon Musk's ex-wife, who he had his child X with, and so she made this video, and the uh, promotion for it. She's reading The Art of War because that's what these people are using against us. And so here in 2019, her name's Grimes. She made this video, and in this video, they're wearing masks. And this happened before the mask stuff started. And there's been a lot of mask predictive programming. And part of the dance is she's shooting like guns basically, and she shoots the gun directly at the camera, which is like at us. And with the red and black symbolism and the mask. And then she's like, hitting herself like this, and it's almost like she's, like, jabbing herself with needles, essentially, and then she's, like, choking herself, and this is, like, the, "I can't breathe," symbolism, and if you, pay attention or look out for the "I can't breathe" stuff, you'll hear that in pretty much everything. There's almost always a character that can't breathe or says that they can't breathe. Like me right now, I can barely breathe. Here's the, X, symbolism. Um Yeah, it's more of the dance, I guess. So, they also, as a promotional piece, they released, this, tablet, and this tablet has, basically all the symbolism of the end of the world on it too. Closer up, you see here, it's like a DNA, the DNA and the spiked ball. This is like a send button. So DNA spiked ball plus 1, 2, 3 V's equals the UFO. And then down here, you have like the, atomic symbols and all that. So yeah, so okay, so I got it, better. So yeah, this is like send DNA CV plus 1, 2, 3 equals the UFO, and that's what we see in IPET Goat 2. It's the three UFOs that are also the V, and that's what drops bombs on this dome. This is like the North Pole dome. This is what lights up later that I showed you guys in the previous video. This is what becomes the blue beam later when Christ gets resurrected, but before that, it's the essentially the black goo dome, and this is the Kraken attacking the city and making a dome shape. Yeah, the dome is the top of our temple. Oh, interesting. I didn't know there was shark stuff in the Vex or the in that stuff as well. Yeah, I didn't know about that. But there were chemicals too called like luciferase and luciferin and stuff like that. So this was something that came about during this time too, and this is a meme, called the Karen who would like to tell on people essentially, like the Kraken spy, like the spy in Stranger Things, and in a lot of other things. Um, there's usually like a person who gets possessed by the Kraken and tells on people. And what is Karen an anagram for? You got Kraken. I think that's why they chose this name. Fuck you, man. So here's the Stranger Things poster again with the Kraken over the dome and the L character being the blue beam going through the dome with the plasma. So this is the kid who gets possessed by the Kraken and becomes the spy, and he gets shot with many needles as well. And here's the red door symbolism on his third eye. And this is like what they were doing with these temp guns, mask, of course. But this was like another red door symbolism, and red is the bottom of the chakra ladder. So they want people at the bottom going to the abyss. And notice in this photo too, they got her left eye showing. And so here in the Mario movie, like I was showing you guys, they got the red door at the beginning of the movie because they don't know what's going on. They're making all the wrong moves. They're naive. Let me just grab some water here. All right. So Twin Peaks, this is obviously a huge this is by David Lynch, and there's a ton of symbolism in this show. And not only did they hit these mountains look like the twin pillars, and they are the twin pillars, but it also makes the split mountain symbol too. And Laura Palmer, she's like the Christ figure in the show, and that's why the show is really pretty heavily satanic, I would say. Although I do really like the show, but it's definitely negative, I would say. This is what happens at the end of the first show. This is the main character. He essentially represents the audience, and he goes to the Black Lodge and fails. And when he comes back to reality, he smashes the glass, smashes the mirror, and he's possessed by this devil character named Bob. And then when he turns, he has the red door on his forehead. And this is a movie called. Oh, sorry, I wasn't checking out the chat there. That's pretty funny. So, Natalie Portman is a big world script actor too. So when you see her in movies, it's likely a world script movie. This movie, Annihilation, is actually pretty interesting. This word is also a Mandela effect. I definitely remember this word just having one N. Now it has two N's. So this happens where you have the spiked balls. It's also like cells, and they're multiplying. And this happens towards the end of the movie. And, to that, and I'll get back to Annihilation in a second. So this is going back to that, Seattle, Space Needle show that they did in 2020, and this is the DNA strand they put over the Space Needle. So, the DNA, like the Grimes tablet and, like, other things, and then you have these, cells that are splitting, and it's just like Annihilation, you know? Like, what you're seeing here in Annihilation is exactly what they're showing you here. And then they also put the cocoon or the cocoon pod over the Space Needle. And then out of this cocoon comes this butterfly. And whenever you see butterflies and things, it's symbolic of evolution. And what we're talking about here is spiritual evolution. And that's also like what we see in IPEC Goat 2 on the blackboard. It says evolution. And so going back to Annihilation, this is what the cells become. This is it essentially starts off, this is like the head of the alien imposter, and it's like a Pinhead again, and we talked about the Pinhead stuff in the, last stream. So he's got all these, like, pins sticking out, and then he becomes, this entity, and I'll get more into this movie maybe another time, but she's essentially below the lighthouse in this, tentacle-filled room, these are like black tentacles, and they're, like, moving. And she shoots this alien imposter creature, and the bullets don't work, and they essentially go through it, and it creates eight tentacles right behind this entity. So it's basically like saying this is the alien kraken imposter, and it starts to mimic her, and it starts to look like her. And what does she have? She's got the red door on her forehead. So now she's essentially possessed by the kraken. And here's the two of them. One of them kills the other, and there's a whole lot going on here. Obviously, this movie is like really symbolic. Hey, Dan, good to see you, man. Thank you. My pleasure. So here's another movie by Darren Aronofsky. It's called Mother, and it's essentially about Mother Earth, and a ton of symbolism. This is actually a pretty awesome movie. I feel like it doesn't get much credit, but it all takes place in a house, and that's the temple. And it essentially plays out a lot of the stories in the Bible and the history of the world. So she thinks she's alone in the house, and she thinks there's an intruder in the house, and you'll often see like home invasions in these movies, like in A Clockwork Orange, the Stanley Kubrick movie, the famous like home invasion scene, and I'll talk about that another time. But her door is open here. So she's got the open door, and then they show you the Vesica Pisces. And when they show you this, it's symbolic of the North Pole, but it's also symbolic of two worlds merging. And it's also symbolic of the male and female worlds merging. And the physical world and the spiritual world and the sun and the moon, making the eclipse, it's all the same thing. So here's the broken glass. You'll often see broken glass. That's like the broken mirror, the firmament breaking. And then who appears is this character is essentially Cain, and he already killed his brother in the movie. And what does he have? It's a little hard to see, but he's got blood on his forehead, and this is the red door again. So here's Dark City. You got the Christ symbolism. This again is like the dome too, and uh, another symbol. This is like the Kraken doing the Christ pose. So they flip that. The needle. So the main character, John, and when you see the name John or Jack or Joe or JC or Jesse or Jane, that's symbolic of the right pillar. So he's like us. He wakes up not knowing anything. He's naive. Like we saw in the Mario Brothers movie, and he wakes up with a red door on his forehead, and then he looks in the mirror and he wipes it off because he's just starting on his path to enlightenment and becoming more, Christ conscious. So here, Army of the Dead movie, you got the dome symbolism again with the crystals. I mean, there's a lot going on. You got the atom bomb, which I'll get into later. You got the X, the Skull Mountain, and here, I think Hollywood caught on that the dollar sign changed, as we saw in, Mars Attacks and Back to the Future. They have the dollar sign with the two pillars, but now the dollar sign has always had the one pillar. So that's the two pillars into one symbolism. And of course, there's a ton we could talk about these things, all day, but I want to try to keep it as broad and repetitive as possible, because that's really how you learn the symbolism. So this is the main character, and I'm trying to think. I forget her name, but I feel like she's. Oh, I think her name in real life is Ella. So there's the L uh, name again, and then this guy's like a creepy, Kraken spy type of a character, and he's enjoying putting the temperature gun up to her forehead. And this movie was actually filmed during the pan, so this whole thing is just like a sick satanic joke. Like, they're filming this giant movie, when everything's, shut down, but of course all these actors can do whatever they want. All these Hollywood people can do whatever they want, and they're putting this, temperature gun with the red door and all that, in the movie. And this is a movie about the Army of the Dead. It's just so ridiculous. Hey, what's up, Celestial Wonders? Good to see you. So this, I think, was just shown to me by the Holy Spirit, because I never heard of this, and I often look up old media because I sell old media as a side job, but I've never heard of this movie, and I just saw it randomly, and it's called The Shot, and even this looks like a seahorse, which I don't want to get into, but that's basically a seahorse is symbolic of memory because it looks like the hippocampus, but that's kind of neither here nor there. And you got the red spiral, but what's really interesting is these guys are essentially like wrapped up in the black like tentacles, and then you got the red door here, and it's called The Shot. So I mean, what's what's going on here? And I don't know anything about this movie. I just saw this cover. It's interesting. So you guys might remember this particular model, and this came out before the CV pan, like a year before it. And her whole outfit is kind of like red and black with the mask, and this is the name. So totally ridiculous. Even you have like the double cross. I think like Russian Vids has talked about this, or back in the day. So Avatar, these are the good characters. You got the yellow and blue, the right eye, that's the spiritual eye. And also when you see one eye symbolism, it's like the apex dome. But I think it also matters. You want to see if it's a right eye or a left eye. And in the beginning of Avatar, they show this city street scene, and um, oh, cool, man. Thanks, Jared. I appreciate that. um, Yeah, so, these people are all wearing masks, and this movie came out, way before the, CV pan thing, and, I think I get a little closer, yeah, so you can see they're all wearing, like, different masks, and this is kinda like a future, like, cyberpunk looking city, so, they're showing you, like, the future, essentially. Breaking Bad, huge, oh, happy to have you, man. Or if you're a guy, good to see you. Thanks for, being here. Um So yeah, Breaking Bad, huge world script show, and it's all about wearing masks. And here you have the yellow and blue. Um, so the yellow and blue symbolizes the central pillar and Jesus, essentially. So this is actually the Christ. I think this is Jesse, the Christ character. Um, and Walt. he's the devil character, but he also kind of, is a god character at certain times too. They go back and forth. You know, it's obviously complicated characters because, it's a really good show. So, they're not just one note characters, but, this would be like the imposter yellow and blue, and this would be the real yellow and blue. So this is going to start. We have a lot to get through still, but this is going to start the end of the presentation. So this is Dark Knight Rises. And the reason I want to show you guys this is a couple things. So here he talks about the mask, and if you look up this scene, he says, "We don't wear the mask." Something like, I'm paraphrasing, something like, "We don't wear the mask to protect ourselves. We wear the mask to protect other people," and that's what they were saying when the CV pan happened. That you should wear the mask to protect the people around you. And he gives this guy is essentially the Robin character, and Batman gives him this ball, and he pushes a button, and it's like the spiked ball. And then when the Robin character throws the ball at this wall, they're trying to, break the wall, bring the wall down. That's also symbolic of the dome. It creates like this atom bomb looking explosion, even though it's small on a small scale. And then later in the movie, they have this real atom bomb. And keep this in mind: these concentric rings that circle around, this like central ball. So at the end of the movie, the real atom bomb goes off, and like, what's an atom bomb doing in a Batman movie? It's this is obviously heavily symbolic, and I don't think it's a coincidence that the word atom, atom, is essentially a homonym. I think that's the right word for Adam, the name Adam, Adam, because I'll be showing you here in a few frames, but the atom bomb going off inside of us is essentially us becoming the new Adam and Eve and returning to the garden, or being able to return to the garden. So this is the movie Event Horizon. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. I saw this a couple times in the theater when it came out originally. I was just like totally blown away by it. But of course, at that time, I didn't realize all the symbolism in it. But I've seen this movie so many times, like I don't even need to like rewatch it to show you all the symbolism in it. But I obviously have to go through it to pick out these shots and things. But so this is the what's known as the gravity drive in the Event Horizon, and it's in this room full of all these black spikes. And keep in mind, if you've seen this movie, when it starts, they say that the ship that they're in, which is a vessel, and it's a space vessel, and when you hear or see the word space in these kinds of things, they're talking about our inner space, and our inner space is the space generally inside of our temple, but mostly inside of our third eye and our pineal organ. That's the space that they want to invade, like the space invaders. But it's also the space where God wants to be too, if we're Christ-like. So it's got the concentric rings that are circling around it, just like that atom bomb in the third Batman movie by Christopher Nolan. So in the beginning of Event Horizon, Sam Neill, he's this character here. His name is William Weir. That's the WW, which is like the inverted mountain essentially, or you could see like an M as like the upward mountain, or like a crown, and then the W is like the inverted crown. And that's also like, Walter White in Breaking Bad, because he's like the devil character. And then Sam Neill is, of course, the devil Antichrist character in this as well. Um, and so he takes this like pinup poster, and he's explaining to them about like wormholes and what this gravity drive engine is like. And notice how it's also like the engine. And like we were talking about earlier, like the engines, under the wings, it's like the third eye. So he pokes a hole through her like third eye area, and then he flips it around and pokes a hole, through her lower, red chakra area. So, if this is like a chakra ladder, the green would be in the center, like by the heart, and then like the blue, violet and white colors would be up at top. And then at the bottom, yellow, what is it? Like orange, yellow, or yellow, orange, red, and then black at the bottom. That's like the abyss. So he pokes a hole through the top and the bottom and then combines them. And he's basically saying like the ship, folds this space so that these 2 points coexist and the space goes through it. But what they want to do is they want to flip our chakras essentially. And this has also happened with like the rainbow symbolism, like with the Mandela affected rainbows. Um, and this is also the symbolism of it's kind of funny to say, but it's like the butt head symbolism. Like they want like our butts and our heads to be in the same space. And that's why everything is so perverse and low, spirituality and all the things that Hollywood shows us. It's all degraded and disgusting and everything because they want us to be butt heads because that's how we get taken over by the Kraken. Yeah, actually, Subtle Realms, you're right about that human centipede thing. I think that is the same symbolism, actually. um, and it's also like in Back to the Future, Biff calls him a butthead. In that movie, Society, actually, they call each other buttheads, and then they're shapeshifters, and a lot of crazy things happen in that movie. But someone actually becomes a literal butthead. But that this is that same symbolism. And even here, he's like, this is kind of like a combo hand sign he's doing. He's like devil horns and like triple sixes and stuff. But and then he's showing how the vessel passes through this gateway because the third eye is the gateway, and they don't want us to have a high chakra. They don't want us to have like a blue door. They want us to have that red door that I was showing you before with all the characters with red doors on their foreheads, and that's like the temperature gun too. So, in, Interstellar, they show the exact same thing as Event Horizon where, this guy is explaining to Matthew McConaughey and again, they got the symbolism for, like, Mount Meru or the North Pole Mountain. So this guy is explaining to him the same thing. He's saying you take a shortcut through the higher dimension. This is, Stranger Things. The teacher is, talking to the kids here, and he's explaining the exact same thing. He's saying you have to create a doorway or a gate, and he's like folded like a paper plate. And actually, interestingly enough, paper plate is like the PP, like the Antichrist, which Jurassic and it talks about. And, the P is like Christ, and the PP is like the Antichrist. So here we have this is from what is it? Infinity War, the Avengers movie. So this is so essentially Thor, his hammer gets destroyed by the Kraken character. So he doesn't have a weapon anymore. So he goes to this forge and the blacksmith there can make him a new weapon, but the forge is broken, and of course, the forge looks just like what we saw with all these other, instances like in Batman and Event Horizon, and I'll show you some others too with these concentric rings that are spiraling around. And this is the third eye. So this is Thor, and in order to get the forge to work, he has to stand in the center and be like the bridge. So again, here's like that bridge symbolism, and he's also like a Christ character. And while this whole thing is happening, he has to put up with this extreme torture, essentially. So this is like Captain America experiencing the torture inside of the cocoon, in order to evolve and to like get his weapon, um, and he's like a god essentially, but they even thought that this might kill him because it's so crazy what he's doing. And this is also the sword and the stone symbolism. So this is a big Mandela effect. I clearly remember the sword being in a stone. I mean, this is a movie, for kids that came out in like the '60s or something, and it's called The Sword and the Stone. And then on the poster, it's got a sword in an anvil. So I mean, obviously that's not the way it used to be. I know like a lot of people do remember the anvil because that's how the Mandela effect works. Some people are just have the new updated version, but I clearly remember this poster with the sword being in a stone. I even remember like what the stone looked like. It was kind of like a lumpy pyramid, and the sword was like a little off center. So in the movie, the sword and the stone is literally the blue beam. So this blue beam shines down, but in reality, the blue beam's going to shoot up, and the sword materializes inside the blue beam because it's the same thing. And going back to Thor, he makes his new weapon. in this forge. And what is an anvil? It's the tool in the forge that the blacksmith uses to forge the weapon. So this is like, us forging our own, blue beam inside of our third eye to communicate and be connected to God. Just checking out the chat here. Sorry. Yeah, I actually, talked about that earlier in the, video, Subtle Realms, and in previous videos too. Yeah, the piezoelectric, crystals in the third eye, they create sparks. So, like, whenever you see sparks in movies, like, there's, sparks in Event Horizon, and there's sparks in a lot of things. When, Captain America actually, is in that cocoon pod and he becomes Captain America, a ton of, sparks, actually, explode all over the place. Even, this is kinda like that too. The movie Contact has this third eye thing also, and this is a Mandela effect too. The C and the O here weren't connected like this, so you'll see a lot of merging letters because everything merges at the North Pole. And like I said, I don't want to get too into what the letters mean exactly because, frankly, I don't know 100% at this point in time. But in the future, you know, I think we'll be narrowing down exactly what all these letters mean. So here in Contact, you have the same, this is like the atomic symbol, but it's also the third eye. See, this is like the symbol for an atom, and it's also this, atom, and the name atom. And it's like this is like the Batman atomic bomb. This is in Batman, and also like in I Pet Goat 2, they basically show like an atom bomb going off on top of the North Pole Mountain here. And this is like Mother Mary, and this is like the Jesus magical child being reborn. And right after this, he's like reborn with that beetle. He comes back to life, and then he rises up like the blue beam, like I showed in a previous video. So back to Contact. Hey Buddha, thanks man, I appreciate that. Thanks guys. Yeah, I really appreciate everyone in chat. If I miss any of your chats, I'm sorry, but of course, if you have anything to contribute or add and I miss it, it's still awesome because other people are seeing it too. Like a lot of live streams I've watched in the past, I've learned a lot from just checking out the chat also. So it's definitely important. So while she's in this third eye with all the concentric rings circling around, you have the cross symbolism also. Oh, and also her name is Ellie. So again, we got the EL symbolism because she's like the Christ character. So this thing is spinning and sparking. We got the sparks again. Oh, and that's actually going to come up even more crazily here in a second. So yeah, here we got Ellie. This is from a video I made a while back. You can check this out. I think it's my video that focuses on communication. If you want to check it out, there's a lot going on here. There's a lot that connects to Superman too. And if you remember in Superman, when he's a kid and he's leaving, when they're sending him off of the planet Krypton, he leaves in a white spiked crystal ball essentially, but it's like the white spiked COVID or CV ball. So, and she's also sitting on a throne. I don't know if I have a well, this is like her feet, but she's sitting on a throne inside of the third eye because that's the throne in the temple. And then she goes into the wormhole like we saw, talking about in the other movies like Event Horizon and Interstellar. So I mean, this is just like so crazy. I mean, just like think about all these different filmmakers and writers and directors. Like, who are these people? Like they know all this world script symbolism. All these movies and things have the exact same thing. So, I think we're like literally dealing with fallen angels and characters like that who know what's going on because there's really no other explanation for this kind of just endless repetition of the same symbolisms and storylines. And it's just all in all different genres, kids movies, adult movies, it's just everything. So what happens when she's in this third eye chamber and she goes through the wormhole, she meets her dead father. So this is like symbolic of God again, the father. And his nickname for her is Sparks. So he goes, "Hi, Sparks." Like, how crazy is that? Um, So yeah, she transcends space and time. So when we hear about like time travel and stuff, I think this is what it's really talking about because we're going to eventually transcend time. I think. She meets her dead fathers, and they're on like the shores of paradise. This is like what this looks like. Raiders of the Lost Ark. This is where the Mandela Effect. So I've seen this movie and this poster so many times. Like the R and the A weren't this close. The E has this other, like the H in Columbia House. It's got like a little left pointing, segment, and then the extended leg on the R here. This just like cleanly went up. So yeah, a ton of symbolism. Of course, this is like the dome. Sword on the right, snake tentacle on the left. I mean, there's a lot going on, and also his hat is a Mandela effect. It's not like super apparent in this poster, but if you see some clips from the movie or just look it up, uh, like on Google Images or something, his hat is like 2 or 3 inches taller than it used to be, and it looks almost like a top hat now. And then the name Indiana Jones, sorry, Indiana is like the country like India, that basically means like star. It's like the Indus Valley or the Indus River, which is essentially named after a like the river, like with the stars shining on the river. And then Jones is like the right pillar again, like the Jones, John, Jack names. Uh, hey, what's up, Luke? Good to see you, man. Yeah, lots of wolf symbols for sure. Blue Pac-Man. Who's named John, by the way. So yeah, in this movie, a lot of times you'll see characters talking directly at the camera. Now he's not doing this, but he's kind of doing it. It's close enough, I would say. So he's basically this is the villain of the movie, and he's like, Jones, do you even know what the arc is? And he says, I'm paraphrasing, but he says something like, "It's a transmitter. It's a radio for us to speak to God." So that's the third eye. He's saying the ark is the third eye, which it is. That's the real ark of the covenant. At least in this current uh age. So here we have the movie Knowing with the eclipse symbolism. Nicolas Cage, this is also a Mandela effect. His name used to have an H here for Nicholas, so he's missing the H. Now, Nicholas is often a nickname for the devil, in Cage. So there's a lot going on there. And this director, they say he's the director of iRobot, which it's true, Alex Proyas, but he also directed The Crow and Dark City. So again, like who are these people? Like this guy, he made this movie Knowing, which is all about essentially what we're doing here right now, where Nicolas Cage finds all these clues in like numbers and gematria and things like that, and he's trying to predict future events that are going to happen. And I'll show you what happens in the end of this movie here. So at the end of the movie, you have these characters who they portray as aliens, but these are really angels. And here's Nicolas Cage with the beam. And oftentimes too, keep in mind when someone has a flashlight like this, it's symbolic of the beam. Like how I was showing in some of my previous pre-produced videos, like in the movie Tron Legacy, the main character he's holding a flashlight when he goes under the mountain, so he's got the beam. I'll get into that at another time. But so these are the kids that go to paradise, and notice here's like the white rabbit. They're holding white rabbits, like we saw in the movie Us. And white rabbits are in a lot of things, but I'll get into that another time too. So they look up and they see this UFO coming down, and this UFO again is like the third eye. It's got like the concentric rings that are all spinning around, and you can kind of see that here. So he falls to his knees, which is what people are going to do when God returns. Here's the concentric circles within circles. It's coming down, shining, again with the shining. So you can see these, circles spinning. This is all symbolic of the third eye that connects us to God. And then they take the kids and they leave Nicolas Cage, unfortunately. But I think that's symbolic of how we need to return to God as children, with like the mindset of children, wise as serpents, but gentle as doves, and with a childlike, innocence and mentality. And this is essentially like the new Adam and Eve. So here they're like running through the garden or like the Elysian fields, and there's these crystal ships, which is like, they got the like blue and white, Columbia Christ colors and lights and everything, and so these crystal ships are in the background, and then they run towards the world tree. This is like the Idrisil tree that we saw earlier in Captain America and in a bunch of other things. So yeah, this is how the movie. So yeah, spoilers for the end of the movie, but that they run towards this world tree. So they essentially arrive in paradise. Okay, so these Sonic the Hedgehog movies are huge. I might just do a special on all of them, but I haven't watched the third one yet. Um, so this is the reason that Sonic is so important is because two things. He symbolizes the blue beam. Here you can see the blue plasma, but when he runs around, he runs so fast. He's basically the blue beam, like you could see it here, and that happens, constantly in the movie and the video games, of course. And also, when a hedgehog rolls up, it becomes a spiked ball. So again, you have the spiked ball symbolism with the blue beam, and I'll get into Sonic more in the future. But there's some Mandela effects with him too. Like he used to have blue sleeves. Like so here they have him with the blue sleeves, but in the old video games now he doesn't have the blue sleeves. Because it's like a roll up the sleeves type of a thing. And then I think actually Blue Pac-Man was pointing this out where I'll show this too in future videos, but like he actually like does like the no hand wave with the finger wag, like don't roll up your sleeves, essentially. And so here's like, the Kraken over the dome. You got the mirror. There's a lot of stuff going on here. The crack at the top of the dome, essentially. And this Robotnik is the Kraken character. And of course, Jim Carrey, he's the JC. So, you got that inverted, Jesus symbolism. And here's it's not blue, but here's the beam shooting up out of the North Pole again. And the waterfalls too is a North Pole symbolism. I'll get into that too another time. Also, I think this. I mean, I don't want to get too into some of these things, but I feel like the O is slanted in these Sonic titles, and O's are often slanted in certain things. And it seems like when it's a positive thing, it's kind of slanted to the right. When it's a negative thing, it's kind of slanted to the left. But I'll get into that another time, and I'll get into a lot of the hedgehog symbolism too. Like if you remember, at the end of Alice in Wonderland. They're playing croquet. Alice and the Queen of Hearts are playing croquet, and they're using hedgehogs, which is the CV spike balls. So Sonic here, he goes into another cave inside of a mountain. Um, hey, Christy, good to see you. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, me too. For sure. All these covers and titles and things are definitely different from the Mandela Effect. Um, so huge owl statue inside of this cave, inside of this mountain. Here's Sonic and Tails. Here's there in front of the statue. So, and what's in on this statue? Here's the crystal, and all these symbols are important. And here's like the split mountain symbolism again, and the crystal. So this is like the Arkenstone, and the crystals in our pineal organs. So he looks at a map, with the crystals, and here's like the sparks and or the shine, and this is all important. This is kind of like the Jesus fish, which is the Vesca Pisces, which we talked about, which is the merging of worlds at the North Pole, and actually at the like I was saying at the Washington Monument, which is symbolic of the blue beam. It shoots up out of a Vesca Pisces. I'll show that like another time though. It's just too much stuff. I'm getting kind of tired. If you could tell my voice is kind of losing it here. We're almost there. So this is an emerald. The chaos. It's called the Chaos Emerald. Chaos comes up a lot, of course, and emerald is like the Emerald City at the North Pole. The green color is that's also the heart chakra because that's the center. The center of the world is the North Pole. That's also why our hearts have now moved to the center. And of course, the aurora borealis is like the green emerald rainbow throne that's below God. So the owl starts lighting up, and it shoots this beam out of it, and then out of this beam comes this third eye symbol, and it goes to Sonic, and it's like floating in front of him, and look, it's got these concentric circles again. So this is like the same symbolism in Event Horizon and Batman and Sonic the Hedgehog and Contact. So I mean, it's clearly so this is the third eye shine, there's probably even more to it. I'm getting kind of tired to be honest. I just want to get through these last few images here. So he holds it, and then Tails gets the red door on his forehead. Um, so Sonic points out the red door, and what's causing the red door is this fleet of drones. And you'll see a bunch of drones in many movies if you look out for it. There's always like drones, clones. This is like the Kraken army essentially. And they're shooting these red lasers down. When you see red lasers shooting down, that's like the opposite of the blue beam shooting up. And then here comes, the devil, the Kraken character with the red and black symbolism, and he's leading this, hive mind Kraken robotic army. And now this just happened on the world stage. So the FIFA president came to the White House and showed Trump this trophy. And this trophy for the FIFA Cup is the third eye symbolism, and it's gold too. And then recently, just a couple days ago, they had this ceremony with Trump going to it, and here they're holding it, so these people probably have no idea what this is, but Trump absolutely knows what this is. And there's a ton of other, if you want to just look into this on your own, there's a ton of symbolism on this thing. And here the two of these creeps holding this third eye trophy essentially. Trump probably wants to like crap on it, like his golden toilet throne. So I'll end with this movie Ultraviolet. Not a lot of people really know about this movie, but I think it was really big in Japan. um And here, so ultraviolet, if you think about like the chakra ladder, like red at the bottom and then violet at the top, ultraviolet is above violet. So it's actually a good thing. And she's, of course, like the Christ character in this. And you got like the needle buildings behind her and all that. And she's got the sword. So also, if you guys know who this actress is, her last name is Jovovich. And I'll show you her first name in a second, but I think this is a Mandela effect also. So just think to yourself of what her first name is. Hey, Christy. um, so yeah, I remember her first name just being Mila, but now there's two L's, and this is a really common pattern in the Mandela effect too. Um, with L's either being added or subtracted from names, like Joel Olstein. It used to be Olstein, but now it's Osteen. Mark Hamill. Um, what's his? So he was like Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, of course, and his name used to be Hamil, but now if you look it up, it's got two L's. And same thing with Ed O'Neill, and he's got two L's now. Sybil Shepherd has two L's. So there's a lot of that. There's actually like probably like 20 examples. Yeah, a lot of people are saying they remember Mila with one L. It was definitely Mila. It looks like Mila now. It wasn't Mila. It was always Mila. It was like the name Mia, like MIA, but with an L in it. Um, Here it is again. If you look her up on Google, and she was also in Fifth Element, which is a huge symbolic movie, of course. She basically plays the Christ character in that too, and she's actually the blue beam in that movie. At the end of the movie, she shoots the blue beam up out of her mouth through a pyramid up into the apex dome, and I've shown that in a lot of previous videos too. If you want to check those out, uh, let's see. So these are just some shots from Ultraviolet, and I'll leave it at that after I get through these. So the movie starts off with this giant needle building with the cross, and this is like the North Pole symbol. And interestingly enough, they got this. And this movie came out, I think, in 2006. Just for reference here. So this is the villain. This movie is all about a pan event. So everyone has to like wear gloves and protective like masks and like stuff like that to breathe. And so here he is wearing gloves, and you got this like cross symbol with the snakes around it. And, there's a lot going on. Obviously, it's like the biohazard symbol. So like I think she's about to enter this building here. So like this right here is this. So you got like the cross for the North Pole, the Black Tower, pyramid essentially. Cross again. Uh, this is crazy looking. So, like, when she goes into this building, she has to go through like this scanning process, and this is like the Kraken tentacles all over her, and it's also kind of like the MK Ultra thing in Clockwork Orange. It's ridiculous looking, and there's more going on here too. I'm sure. Here you got like the hexagons with the blue and yellow, and this looks like monkeys in the thing. I'm sure we could talk about that too, but it just I don't want to go too far down these rabbit holes. So she's here to steal this item. It's kind of like on this central pillar sort of, and it's in this like case, and on her belt here she has the this thing breaks out like that third eye, concentric circles we've been talking about, and also this is like the apex dome. This is likely what it looks like if you look directly up at it if you're at the North Pole. And then it starts moving, and it's like these the atomic symbol, concentric circles, and you got like the blue plasma, the sparks, the shining. And then she breaks the glass and I guess falls down. I kind of don't remember exactly what's going on here, but you got the red and black symbolism likely at the bottom. Oh, and she's got this case now on her back. So she escapes with like the Christ pose, and also the BMW symbol. This is like a North Pole symbol. It's got the concentric circles and the X for like the four continents, and like white and blue. So she's just like a killing machine in this movie. Just like kills people, giant groups of people all the time. And you got the crosses and another needle building. This is like the eye of the needle here with like the another North Pole symbol. This is that device that's on her belt. That's like the third eye thing. So this is her holding that case. Then she opens it up, and inside is this kid, and it's weird, obviously. But this is like the magical child that you'll see in a lot of these movies. So the kid, once he's in reality, this is what it looks like. Interestingly enough, he has like this third eye dot, kind of like Russell Crowe has, and he's kind of like the Christ magical child that she's trying to save. The needle building again. Notice how it has like a small like black needle too at the top. So here's that symbol again. They got the gloves with the cross with the snakes. I'm just trying to get through this at this point. So a lot of these characters are vampires, but they're trying to I think alleviate that. Like I think the pan turned the people into vampires, which is essentially what the V does, because things are inverted. So this guy, so she like almost dies, and then he saves her life. So he's like her savior, and then he's in this like yellow and blue, area. And then here we got this came out in 2006. You got people all in these masks. Here's the kid wearing a mask. She goes to this church with all this, you know, eclipse cross symbolism. Inside the church, you got the black and white floor and a ton of stuff. I don't want to get too into it, but you'll often see like a well, and I think they're trying to kill the kid by throwing him down this well. And like like this well, like there's a well in like the It movies, and like that's like inside of a house, which is like a temple. Like so, the well like goes down, to the abyss. Essentially, it's like the portal to the abyss. Uh, heard that. This is that snake symbol. Let's see. Oh, so she's like saving the kid out of the well. And then when she saves the kid, they highlight her right eye because she's acting, Christ-like. So here's she's at like this dome building with the sword, the sword going through the dome. She's up crossing the dome like the blue beam. Then the whole final like act of this movie takes place in this giant cross building with the twin pillars, and you got like the dome symbolism and the domes here. It's pretty ridiculous and over the top actually. And the camera like pans down to show you that talking about the dome. Then she goes in, here we have the up and down triangles, and this is the hexagon patterns too. If you look at it like this, makes the hexagons. So here she enters. We got like the twin pillars and like the central pillar, the cross with the concentric, like you know, it's not circles, of course, but it's that same kind of symbolism in the black and white too. You'll almost always see spiral staircases in these world script stories as well. And take note too if the characters are going down the spiral staircase or up the spiral staircase, because this is essentially the spiraling up. You spiral up to paradise and spiral down to the abyss, essentially. So more cross symbolism. Here they have like the last fight under the dome. She's got the sword. This is like the villain, and she's fighting him. And here we have the flaming sword again. And then when it's over, she rises up with on this pyramid elevator with the kid, and the dome breaks and gets destroyed. Here's the space needle too, uh, and then essentially the domes break, and that's about it. So yeah, I'm about done. It's a little much. Yeah, thank you guys all for being here, and thank you to everyone in the chat. Please, upvote. Consider subscribing to the channel, and I'll catch you guys probably in a couple days, and we'll continue on with all this crazy symbolism. Thank you guys. I appreciate y'all being here. Let me just do a couple of things here. Cool. All right, let me do donut as well. Cool. I'm just modding a couple people in case there's like some kind of spamming in the chat sometimes. If you guys could help me out with that, that'd be awesome. All right, thanks guys. I really appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. God bless.